Hello and welcome to another recap of The Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 15, Episode 11, A Submerged Secret. We're still up at Lake Arrowhead at the quote-unquote cabin, which is actually a mansion that has been rented for the ladies. We open with Braunwyn bitching to a girlfriend about how there are all these bottles in the house, which I told you last time is a bit of staging by Bravo, no doubt. The bottles on display are crazy. It's a crazy number everywhere. And I think that's just a little dramatic touch by the producers or the stage managers or whomever. Okay. She and her friend claim that there is an anti-Braunwyn campaign in the house. Yes, because you are the center of the universe, after all. All right, on a more serious note, Emily is still scared about Shane. He is doing a little better, but he's still on oxygen. Okay, Elizabeth talks about her parents. Her dad was a preacher in Texas, and I think her grandmother founded the church. It was a Pentecostal church, and they moved from Texas up to the Ozarks in Missouri to start the church on kind of a big plot of land, a compound, if you will, up there, which is never a good sign. Here's a small hint. Whenever a church is based on a compound and doesn't really have a free flow of people in and out, you might be a cult. All right. Okay, she says the Pentecostal church got so weird that they had to leave. I think she means her and her mother. So they moved to Washington State and they stayed there for the rest of her childhood, youth. I think it's funny for her to say the Pentecostal church got weird. I'm not judging someone's choice of religion. I'm just saying that Pentecostal Christianity is not what most people would see as a typical quote-unquote Christian church, even though there are many, many different types of Christian churches. The Pentecostals are extremely, how can I say, they're hyperbolic in everything they do, the way they pray. These are the people who speak in tongues. They kind of whip themselves up into a frenzy. They believe 100% that every word in the Bible is the gospel truth, but way more than that, because a lot of Christians believe that. It is a church that definitely tends to foment people who are a little on the crazy side. And, Pentecostal churches are occasionally ones where you will find there are people, handling snakes and things like that. All those kind of stories you hear about. Pentecostal. Also sometimes Church of God. But again, you know what? Some people could say, well, people are just being passionate in their Christianity. But I also know that Christianity tells you to go forth, don't hide your light under a basket. You're the light of the world. And in this case, a lot of these churches, a lot of Pentecostal churches they're isolated from each other. I don't know if I'm sure there is a union of Pentecostal churches, I'm sure there is. But in general, a lot of these churches kind of tend to thrive in the country. And again, they have kind of like this closed group of people who are suspicious of outsiders. So it is a fertile ground for cult-like behavior. I'm not saying every Pentecostal or every Church of God member is a cult member. I'm not saying that. Cult means religion. In its base. The base of the word is religion, is faith. So you could say every religion is a cult, but I think you know what I mean in the modern sense of cult. And apparently Elizabeth's church, of which her father was pastor, was definitely one of these. Okay, anyway, enough for the moment about Elizabeth. Braunwyn comes up and asks to speak to Elizabeth alone. And I'm thinking, why? To interrogate her? To go over her financials with her? Because Braunwyn's behavior has been really weird regarding Elizabeth. Meanwhile, Gina is talking to her lawyer about Matt's case. He was charged with 2 felonies in connection with his really horrific behavior toward Gina. And he could have to serve up to 4.5 years. Unlikely. When you get a maximum, unlikely, unless he's a repeat offender, but it's a maximum of 4.5 years. Okay, Gina will actually have a say in how long the sentence should be. They're going to let her stand up in court. And Gina absolutely hates this. She cannot stop feeling guilty about Matt going to prison. I mean, again, she does have that victim mentality, but let's not forget that he's also the father of her children. And, you know, although we all want, obviously, we want someone like that to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because there's no excuse for what he did. She has those maternal feelings, you know, knowing that daddy was in prison. So anyway, she wants to protect him. She has an instinct to protect her man, but she says she's fighting it. She's really fighting against it because she knows that this is important for her healing. It's important for everybody involved. It's important maybe for Matt in the future to see what he will and won't do to another woman in the future. Okay, she calls Travis for support, and he is, you know, a good listener, very supportive. Again, I have nothing bad to say about Travis. He seems, you know, basically like a cool guy. I think in this moment in Gina's life, he is very good for her. Okay, all right. Now, here comes Braunwyn and Elizabeth's big conversation over Braunwyn's OCD snooping on Elizabeth. Elizabeth tells Braunwyn, look, I know that you hired an investigator to look into me. And then that's when I'm thinking, holy shit, an investigator? Really? I thought she just kind of used internet searches and record searches. I didn't know she actually hired a private investigator. That's just really bizarre. Elizabeth is hurt by Braunwyn and tells her as much. Braunwyn says, but you're dishonest. You lied to me. And I'm thinking, so what? What does she owe you? Especially because Braunwyn, you've lied about so much. You've lied about your entire life and who you are. So what? She doesn't owe you anything. You're not that close. She doesn't owe you anything. All right. Braunwyn said, you lied about the house on the beach. You rented that house. And again, I'm thinking, Elizabeth, she doesn't owe you anything. She doesn't owe you any explanation. Okay, now here comes Kelly to join the conversation. She says, oh yeah, but you know, Elizabeth, you are evasive. There are a lot of half-truths. But Kelly basically sticks up for Elizabeth's right of privacy and says, you know, look, the fact is, yeah, even so, you didn't have any right to go in all this. It's not your place. Kelly Dodd, unlikely voice of reason. I hardly recognize her this season. And then occasionally she'll say something really dumb and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's Kelly. She's still there. All right. Braunwyn says that, to be honest, she's kind of sitting there looking like she doesn't really give a shit about Elizabeth's feelings. And Elizabeth says, look, I have problems trusting women. I have problems getting close to women. Kelly says, honestly, she feels like all of Braunwyn's searching and obsessive speaking and digging into Elizabeth's life is making it all about her. Again, good on you, Kelly. That's absolutely right. That's what Braunwyn does. She makes everything all about her. Okay, now I'm noticing right now, Elizabeth is fake crying. If you follow my channel, if you're a subscriber, and if you're not, why not subscribe? We'd love to have you. Be sure and put your name down so I can thank you personally. And while you're there, give me a like, ring the bell, you'll get notified when I have a new upload. And of course your comments, all your comments, I answer all your comments. Okay. All right. So again, this concerns me when I see that Elizabeth is doing the fake crying. And I started to say, those of you who follow me know that I am an expert on fake crying. I have been an actress. I can make myself cry. Real tears, I can turn on the waterworks fairly quickly. That was something I was always able to do in acting. I can't exactly explain how I do it, but I can very quickly go to kind of like a really just sad, dark place, and it just will come. It will just... But again, real crying, whether you're acting or not, when you are actually crying, when you are producing tears, you are, whether you're an actress or whether you're an emotional person, you know, showing their emotions. Crying is not pretty. Your eyes get really red, but that's not enough, because you can always do the rubbing of your eyes to make them red. There are tears flowing out of your eyes, not just maybe like one little one in the corner, but there should be tears flowing, and your nose should be running, your nose should be red, your face should be red, especially on a really pale woman like Elizabeth, on a white girl. Your skin will get kind of blotchy, kind of red. Elizabeth is fake crying. So right from the start, and we're going to be spending a lot of time on Elizabeth's childhood and everything that happened to her in this episode and the next episode, and right off the start I'm like, oh shit, I don't know how much I'm going to believe. And that, well, we'll come back to that, because, well, just really quickly, I mean, I am a survivor of various kinds of abuse, and I know that, for example, you know, it is unusual for people to make up stories of abuse unless they have a specific reason, like a wife trying to get custody of her child and so claiming that the father was abusing the child, things like that. But sometimes there are adults in seeking attention, perhaps especially if TV cameras are on them, that might play up something to be a little more than it was. I totally believe that Elizabeth's childhood was disastrous, and she probably was in that kind of environment, in a harsh, weird, closed off Pentecostal church like that. She probably was caned. She probably was beaten. She's later going to say more types of abuse happened. Yeah, I have no reason to disbelieve her. We have no reason to disbelieve her. But I'm just noticing that either she is embellishing, which I hate to say, but if she's not embellishing and if all of this really happened, then she is really, really closed off from it. And if she's so traumatized that she's so closed off from it that she's not able to cry over it, I can tell you, psychologically speaking, that she would not be so open and ready and eager to talk about it. And we're going to see, she is dying to tell this story. She's been dropping hints about it the whole time, but she has been dying to have an excuse to know the women just well enough to tell this story, to spill it out, even though she acts like, oh, I can't tell you, I can't, no, I don't want to say, I have this feeling that she's just dying to tell this story. So, I don't entirely, I'm not, again, I would never, ever, ever say someone that says that they were abused. I would never say, no, you weren't. That's horrible. We don't have the right to do that. I'm uncomfortable with her. I'm uncomfortable with the way she's telling this story. I don't feel truth coming from her. That's the best way to say it. That doesn't mean that she was not abused, but the way that she is speaking, I am, instead of being, normally I would be very engaged. I'd be like, oh my God, because again, having been through some of this personally, oh God, when someone tells a story, you don't have to know them. It could be on anything on TV. I'm right in there. My heart is right in there. And I feel very detached from Elizabeth. But enough about me. Acting like Braunwyn here. Okay. All right. Now, Braunwyn says, look, I did this to you in the first place. All of a sudden, she's going to turn around. All of a sudden, Elizabeth is no longer her enemy. She's going to turn right around and say, you know what? I did all this in the first place because I'm a shitty person. I'm a bad person. I'm bored. And I'm looking for things to do. And I'm sure she's somehow going to bring it back to, you know, the drinking. I want to drink so bad. I'm bored. And this is distracting me. Whatever. That doesn't fix everything. You know, behaving that terribly toward Elizabeth and then just looking at her and saying, you know what? I'm a shitty person. I'm a bad person. What are you going to do? again, talk about not feeling somebody or not believing somebody. I don't believe a word that comes out of Braunwyn's mouth. Okay, yeah, I hate people who act horribly and then apologize and think that that makes everything great. Somehow there are some people that can apologize in such a heartfelt way that it does work, but that's not the case with Braunwyn. Okay, so then they start talking about, Kelly in particular is on the subject of the fact that Shannon says Elizabeth lied when they were at the vow renewal about Jimmy leaving. Shannon said Jimmy left early because he had to go to work, and Elizabeth said he left because Shannon yelled at him. And Kelly does not trust Shannon. She doesn't trust a word she says, but they do all say that, Kelly's maybe reconsidering, because she said, you know what, Shannon was the first one to say, I think that this Elizabeth is full of shit, which is true. Okay, speaking of Shannon, now we're back to Shannon with, who's really has been crying sincerely for months, it looks like. Shannon is finally, I'm sorry to say this, but thrilled to
Miss Rona.
Because the hypochondriac can let her flag fly. My lungs, my lungs, my lungs. What about your lungs? What exactly is, what is it that makes you so much, look at Shane. Shane almost died. He didn't have any, he didn't tell us about any pre-existing condition or whatever. What is it that you think makes you so special? And I know she's a fearful, anxious person, but she's just annoying me so much over this. We're all afraid of Miss Rona. We're all afraid of Miss Rona. None of us want to get it. Of course it would be devastating to find out that you're positive, but in her case, I feel like she'd just been like, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it, almost like looking forward to it, because she wanted her, her predictions to come true. I don't know, she's just a very weird relationship with her health. It's her obsession. It's her obsessive compulsive behavior is obsessing over her health and compulsively taking whatever bizarre supplements and, magical things that she can possibly get her hands on. And she's like, oh no, and my kids, they were so careless. I shouldn't have let them in the house. Why did I do that? And I just kind of want to go, Shannon, man up. Jesus, just man up a little. Woman up, woman up. She's worried about her relationship with John, which she says has been really up and down, but now it's not going well and they're going to be separated. And, boy, Shannon this season. Oh, almost like I want to say nothing much to see there, because it's pretty dull. Okay, now the girls are going to go to Sky Park, which was not there when I used to go to Lake Arrowhead, but it seems to be some sort of amusement area. They have axe throwing, which seems to be a staple of every reality show these days. Archery, they can ride mountain bikes, they can go fishing. Now, I guess on the way, or as they're getting ready to go, Braunwyn is talking about a close girlfriend of hers who's going to come in later. We're going to hear more about her. Her name is Shari. She apparently is her new enabler. She has taken Sean's place, and Braunwyn goes to her for everything. They're just like soulmates, and she calls her wife. Yeah. Back to Shannon. Shannon is isolating. She's been isolating in John's little house. I was trying to figure out where she was. It looked like a guest house of her house. She was isolating in John's little house. And Shannon basically hears the gist of the conversation with John and with us. Whine, 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 bitch, bitch, moan, blame your kids, disappointed. And she has to, she has to tell us how careless everyone was, and she's wailing and tearing her clothes, and I just like, and she's talking to them on the phone and saying how disappointed I am in you. You gave this to me, and she's just really upsetting the girls. And she's boring the crap out of me. So, back to Emily. Emily spoke to Shane. He has to stay at the hospital for 5 days to take an antiviral cocktail. I'm sure that's the one we all heard about so much. And now back to Sky Park. Elizabeth, do not get too close in Braunwyn. Do not think that because she's apologized and now she's acting like Miss Love and Light, Miss Dr. Deb Jr., don't for 1 second trust her. Don't confide in her. Don't tell your deepest, darkest secrets to Braunwyn. She's not your friend, but Elizabeth suddenly thinks they're buddy-buddy now. And again, she's clearly dying to tell her story. Okay, so they go fishing. Yeah, wow, this holiday kind of sucks. This is really low level, even for a Miss Rona getaway. We're fishing at Lake Arrowhead. Yay! Okay. So now Elizabeth and Braunwyn are kind of alone together on the dock, getting ready to fish. And again, she's just dying to tell her life story. And I'm thinking, I'm yelling, do not confide in Braunwyn, Elizabeth. Stop. Pick someone else. Pick anyone else. I mean, this is really sad. I'm going to say pick Kelly. Anybody else would be more truly, sincerely interested. Oh, Braunwyn will act and she'll say the right thing. She's got that psychological family upbringing from Dr. Deb. But anyway, okay, so here we go. Elizabeth says that all she's done is keep secrets within her family. She says they all have PTSD. She is doing something annoying, knowing all the cameras are on her. She's obviously already decided she's dying to tell this whole story about the abuse she suffered as a child in this cult, okay? But she kind of just sort of like brings it out in little bits and, acts like she's so hesitant, but yet when push comes to shove, she's very ready to talk about it. So yeah, they all have PTSD. I guess they were all abused. I'm sort of saying to myself, either speak out or don't, but don't speak out to Braunwyn. Too late. Okay, so Elizabeth says, I really need help. I need help. I was in a cult. I was badly beaten. Again, I totally believe that. It does sound like everything, she grew up in the hallmarks of a cult, and that sort of thing may very well have happened. But I don't feel real emotion from her, and even her panic attack, which is something I have a lot of experience about for real. Thank God not anymore, but when I was younger, I had a real problem with panic disorder. It doesn't even look like a real panic attack. I'm sure I might get some very disapproving comments, but I have to tell you, I don't see it. I don't see tears. I don't feel her pain. And if she was completely blocked off and one of those people who deal with trauma by being just cold, she wouldn't be so happy to spill this out with cameras around her. I smell bullshit. Not that I'm doubting she was abused. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. But everything inside me says it just doesn't feel right. It feels weird. So, on that extremely uncomfortable note, I hope you're all doing really well. I hope you're all coping very well with everything that's gone on this week. It's been an intense week full of ups and downs, and shock and horror, and yeah, it's these times we're living in. And of course, I mean, I didn't think that 2021 was going to magically start with everything being, pixie dust and happy. I knew that it would take a time, there would be a time of reconciliation and kind of rebalancing everything. And obviously we're still at the peak of Miss Rona. So anyway, on that note, yeah, write to me, tell me how you're doing. Tell me your opinion of Elizabeth, if anyone else is reading her this way or if I'm just being horrible. And please take really good care of yourself and be good, but not too good. And remember, I love you, and I will see you very soon. Bye. you.